There's something really odd in the study number 1 of Opus 6 by Fernando Sor. It's strange. Let's have a look on that. So here's the form. Look at this. We have the first A part, which is very regular, 8 bars, but the second one has 9. And then B, it's 7. C is 7 again. Then we have 5 plus 3 and 5 again at the ending. What is this? This is really odd. That's not a classical phrasing, 4 plus 4 or 8 bar phrases. Well, might be. It's art. You can change as you like, but I have to look on that. So, follow me. Now, here's the very first 8 bar phrase, which is super regular. Nothing to say. We have the first opening bar. Quite nice, by the way, because this is the triad of D major, but is added the 6th on the beat 3, which makes it melodically more interesting. So this is nice. And we are ending in an A7, which opens to the next phrase. And this one is 9 bars. Again, it finishes in A7. And we have 2 bass lines differently than they were before. An A arpeggio and another A arpeggio, just one note in the triad lower, with finishing A7. So this is similar to the first phrase, but it's 1 bar more than this. This double A major and A7 bar at the end could actually arise interest in what is following. That's one of the reasons that you lengthen the end of a phrase. And if you are used to hear 8 bar phrases, you will immediately recognize the 9 bar one. So this arising attention does work very well. But what follows? Seven bars. So after that arising attention we have that bar is D major, similar to the very first D major bar, but it's the same to bar 5, which is the second half phrase in the beginning. And from there in bar 18 we go this way. Okay. Again, D major, but now there is beginning a bass line which is going down chromatically. And not only, the soprano line is going up in counter movement. So this is very nice, 2 chromatic lines in counter movement. And we get some 4 bars. Which belong to each other. The last bar of this second line, which is bar 21, 2, 3, 24, again opens to A7. So it's what we had in the first 2 phrases, the finishing bar. And at that point, this is clear. But why 7? This is really a bit strange. It's true that bar 21 could actually be the finishing bar of the first 4. Does make sense. But now the next are only 3. it still remains 7. If there are only 7, there might be the 8 bar missing that is following. Let's have a look. Well, no. The next bar is clearly the first one because it's identical to the very first bar. So this one can't be part of the 7 bar phrase that we had before. So we have to live with that fact. It was 8, 9, and now 7. The next one is 7-2. Listen. Well, we might discuss if bar 28 is the 4th of the first line or the first one of the second, because both is valid. Anyway, this D7 chord cries for being resolved. And then we get a perfect cadence. With a descending contralto line, which calls for, that will follow. Soprano line, D, or what actually happens, F sharp. Anyway, 7 bars again. The next phrase is opening with this one. Not really very significant. First of all, because the next bar is the S bar 5, the first one in the second half phrase of the beginning. So, an extra D major bar. This one could probably be part of that phrase before, but all the phrases that we had seen before finished in A7. So a dominant that attracts continuation. And that would be the first part finishing in the tonic. Well, if that is true, there would be 2 8-bar phrases. Okay. But if not, we have a 9-1 again. And what is interesting here, it seems to be the complete first phrase, but that is not once the original first bar, because we have always beginning with bar 5. And in bar 37 again, there is never the original one. So if it was a kind of, well, recapitulation, it doesn't recapitulate the original theme. Strange. Mr. Sor, what did you do? Anyway, the ending of this section is very clearly calling for the end of the piece. Three bars. We all are waiting for the conclusion. And actually, you name it, you get it. Here is Sor's conclusion. This actually is very elegant because it's not one bar to conclude. But it's actually 5. And how does he do it? First, just the arpeggio of D major, which does not bring the energy to continue, followed by the A7. So harmonically, there is still movement in here. As a figure, there is movement because they're continuing the music in 8s, but melodically, it's not too interesting. So we are prepared of the beginning of the end. Again. And now just the movement and the D major triad without A7. we as listeners have understood, at least at the second repetition. At this point, okay, it's ending. This is for sure the end. And the last D is the confirmation of the end. Elegant, very nice. But that chaos before, what is that phrasing? In the 19th century, we very often see that editions and first editions, even if supervised by the composer himself, are with evident errors. So I permitted myself to rectify a bit that version. Look what I did. This bar 8 in the second phrase, which is apparently a 9-bar phrase, was A major. And I just put that in that 7-bar phrase that's following. So we get 2 times an 8-bar phrases. Okay? Then here is a 7-bar again, and I put the first D major bar from the fifth actually period into the fourth one. So the 9-bar period gets an 8-bar one and the 7-bar 8-2. Then in the ending, the 5 bars of the ending actually are the 8th bar of the last period augmented in order to have that elegant ending. And doing this, we have a perfectly 8-bar phrased piece, changing the position of the bars. Here's the rectified version. Okay, this is obviously highly speculative as an action. It was possible in the period to change pieces and play them differently, repeat parts, add something. So that's perfectly fine with the practice in the 19th century. But anyway, I'm not that sure that this rectified version actually is better than the original one. So there has to be another approach to look on the piece. And this approach is obviously making an harmonic analysis of the structure, ignoring a bit the actual form. And what came out is this. Here you see source study just in the harmonic version. I left out all the melodic parts. And if we play this, you will hear perfectly 4 + 4 phrasings. First phrase, that's not surprising. The second one begins the same way. Now, So if we'll listen to the only harmonic analysis, form seems to be perfectly 4 plus 4 plus 4 and so on. I will now play the piece as published by Sor, but with a very clean and very straight 4 plus 4 phrasing. As I believe that my very first analysis of the oddities of this study is not too wrong, I obviously from there created my own interpretation. So I make my own artistical compromise between the apparent form and the underneath lying harmonic form. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you liked my video, leave me a thumb, subscribe to the channel. If you like my fingering, you can download that from the Dropbox, subscribing to the newsletter, as you can with the analysis that I did. So all the versions, all the 3 versions of the piece I played in this video are on my Dropbox. So, thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.